Everybody, and welcome back with Keone Stevens, Coach Sean, with another one of our industry talks. And I have a guest today that I'm so excited to talk to too, because I get to talk to royalty today. I get to talk to Her Excellency Shanta. All right, and
Hello
Shanta
there.
has done.
Grand Rising.
I know, right? Did you say everything from brand ambassadoring to entrepreneurship? And you know how I do. I don't give a long intro for our guests because I like them to tell them a little bit about themselves, and then we're going to jump into some questions that I'm going to ask them so we can get a preview of who they were before they got to where they were, give you guys some pointers on how to be successful. But we're also going to talk a lot about the importance of creating your brand, knowing your brand, because that's important for anyone who is getting into the entertainment industry. And for those of you who are tuning in, that aren't getting into the entertainment industry, you have to understand your name is still your brand because your name is you. So without further ado, Her Excellency, Shanta, how you doing?
Well, Bryson, hello there, Keon. Thank you so much for having me.
I listen. I could be anywhere in the world today, and I chose to be here with you because I know the value of what you're bringing to us today for our students and talent and everyone out there watching on Keone Productions, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're watching. Excited today.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So give us a little snapshot of who is Shanta.
All right. Well, Shantae is someone who is definitely resilient, um, has a lot of tenacity, bold,
Mm.
Also very fearless, vibrant, a lot of positive energy, and someone that really values loyalty,
Mm.
and just someone that I love to learn, and I would just, I guess, categorize myself as someone that is in a continuous growth stage.
Amazing. Now, that's of course the person you grew into, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Wasn't always this way.
Was it always this way? I know. Hey, we all evolve, right? We all turn into who we are based on our experiences and what we've gone through. So, before you got into um, being such a powerful person in the world of brand ambassador, did you see yourself being in the avenues that you are in now?
No, not at all. I've always knew that I would be somewhat involved in the entertainment industry.
Mhm.
I had no idea to what capacity and what those opportunities would lead me to.
Mm. What was your passion before you got into this avenue?
Singing. I've been singing ever since I was a very young girl.
Mhm.
And as I grew into an adolescent teenager, I continued to sing. And I would say probably around age 18 is when I kind of transitioned over and began rapping, really more involved in taking a love and passion for hip hop. And around that same, well, within a year or two, became pregnant with my first child, my son, Nas. And from there, I transitioned and went over into the business management side of things. So I was no longer an artist, but I became like the entertainment manager, started a record label business, a recording studio in Beloit, Wisconsin, and ran a full record label.
Awesome. Everyone, feel free to ask questions anytime in the live chat. Go ahead and post your question, and I will get them to Shantae. So, when you were rapping and just rapping, did you have a grasp or understand the importance of your brand at that time?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Because back then I was actually more of a gangster gangster rapper. So I spoke about my life in the streets and my personal experiences because that was my life at that time. So no, I did not.
From gangster rapper to president of about 19 different organizations, it's amazing.
You
Looking
would
at
never imagine. Matter of fact, I was talking to someone today, and they said, "Wow, I can't believe you. Even I've ran an escort agency for 4 years
mm,
in Madison, Wisconsin. I've done a number of things that I'm not so proud of,
mhm.
but actually, like you said, those experiences led me up into becoming the person that I am now.
Yeah. So, tell me, when you started to get to the height that you are, what was your biggest pitfall that almost prevented you? I know having a child sometimes is one of those. Not that it's a bad thing, but we know what it is to take on having that responsibility and trying to continue your career. What was the biggest thing that almost stopped you from getting where you are today, and how did you overcome that?
Wow. I would say it was in 2012, June 2012. I had actually been in entertainment over 20 plus years, and I had been touring the road with independent and major artists and doing celebrity bookings. And I was going actually through some really tough times. And I experienced homelessness, I experienced divorce and separation, and I had just found, I guess, a place of stability, and within about 2 months of feeling that comfort again, I was in a vehicle accident where I was walking and hit by a car. And that accident left me where I needed to have my femur replaced. So I have a rod in my leg and I have a plate in my knee. My right leg is about 75% metal. And that was one of those times when I just really started to throw in the towel and say, to hell with it. I was stuck in a wheelchair. I was a single mother with 3 kids. I had no savings put up. Um, I was in a state and city by myself without any relatives or any support system. And I remember being in the hospital, and my mother and my sister had traveled down to Atlanta, and we're at the and came into my room, and my mother said, "Okay, well, when you get discharged from here, we have all your things packed up and ready to move back home." And I looked at my mother, and I just was I remember being a little high off the pills, but I wasn't that high that I didn't understand what she was saying. And I told her that I don't know what I was going to do, but I did not want to. I was not going to move back to my hometown of Beloit, Wisconsin at that time.
Right. You felt like that would have been going backwards. And even though you've been through all of those traumatic things, you're like, the last thing I want to do is go backwards.
Exactly, exactly. And she said, "Well, what are you going to do, Shantae? You're a single mom. You don't have any income. You don't even get child support, no alimony. You have no income, no savings, and you're going to stay here in Atlanta with three kids?" And I said, "Yes."
Said, watch me work this. So
Watch me work.
let's talk about brand ambassadoring. I'm not brand ambassadoring. I'm sorry. Let's talk about branding. We talk a lot about social media, knowing that you are a brand based on your name. So can we start off by talking about how important it is to understand your branding?
Yes. So first of all, let's talk about what branding is, because sometimes people get the branding and marketing confused.
Okay.
The branding is the process of creating a unique name or design or feature or symbol or something that represents your brand, your personality or a product or service or just yourself, that's going to separate you and make you stand out from others in your market. Whereas marketing is like, once you've created that brand, it's how you get the word out, how you advertise, how you promote that brand.
Okay, and I think that that's the thing that people don't understand. Like they don't understand that everything you do, you're advertising yourself, right? Everything that
Yes.
you do, you're advertising yourself, and I think some people don't get that. Now, some people heavily rely, especially today, and it's not a bad thing. That's just what's going on branding themselves through social media. We just can't help it. That's just the thing, and not understanding that what they post or say affects their brand.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
when you have clients that you've had that you've worked on with branding, is scrubbing their social media part of it?
Yes, absolutely. Going back through, deleting, and erasing posts and trying to put in, posts that match and align more with the strategy that you're implementing definitely is part of the process.
Yeah, because I tell people all the time, just deleted my Twitter. Because if you've had a social media account, like Twitter's been around forever, if you have a social media account that's been long, you always have to scrub it because something you said today, which could be perfectly normal, 10 years from now, that might not be a perfectly normal thing to say. So,
No,
I,
and not only that, but you have to know that even though you may go back and erase or delete it from your accounts,
somebody else.
there's not to say that someone else may have not already screenshotted or saved it or archived it, or that it's not already floating out there on the World Wide Web and may be able to come back and bite you in your butt later down the line.
What are some things that you tell people to steer away from on social media, like conversations? Like I know when I do a lot of coaching, I say, listen, stay away from politics, stay away from religious arguments, unless you're on a forum that's for. I tell them to stay away from it. Are there things that you tell people to stay away from on their social media?
Exactly what you just named: politics, religion, things that have to do with sexism. All those different topics are pretty touchy and could definitely hurt your brand if it's not something that um, is aligned with your brand, or if it's not something that you're already passionate about or want to, bring awareness to.
Right. I mean, if you're an activist, that's one thing, but if you're out here and that's not the lane you're going on, you need to not have those conversations so openly if that's not doesn't align with your brand. And you talked about alignment a lot. So she has talked about understanding what you want to be as a brand, and then making sure that the things you do align with that brand. Is that a good summary of what you just talked about?
Oh, yes, perfectly well. So when I'm creating things, or when I'm looking at what type of events I want um, to involve myself with, or what type of clients I want to work with. I'm always looking at, is this going to be good for my brand or is this going to hurt my brand? There was an artist not too long ago, last year actually, that I was entertaining working with, a hip hop artist. And I had a lot of resources that actually could have helped to kind of revamp his career. But because of his past and the reputation and the brand that he had gained for himself or developed for himself, I had to actually decide against representing him, and I'm so glad I did because because it was a hip hop artist that I've always admired. I told you I'm a hip hop fan, so the chance or opportunity to work with this specific artist came, and I was really entertaining it, and I'm just so glad I didn't, because at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, that same artist had a lot of videos on the web that were just like so demeaning, so disappointing and embarrassing. And one of my business partners texted me and said, "Aren't you glad we didn't do that deal with him?"
Wow. Are there any? And of course, we're not going to go people by name. Um, we just talked about someone that you hope to represent, and it turned out that was a good thing. Is there anyone out there, you don't have to say by name, that you had second thoughts of representing, and then afterwards you were like, why didn't I represent that person?
Well, I actually never, no, I can't say that, but there was this one artist, and I can say her name.
Okay.
And her name is Tink
Mhm.
from Chicago, Illinois.
Mhm.
And I had heard Tink's music. My children were playing her, my nieces, and in my family, I was hearing her name a lot. And we're from the Midwest, so she was becoming very popular. And I just became an A&R at Big Cat Records, and I went to my I guess my boss, you could call him. And I was like, hey, I have this new artist. I think she's going to be really good. I think we should, at least talk with her and sign her. And at that time, I guess he felt like I was still new to the game and he did not trust my judgment. And to this day, Tink is still running numbers around some of the artists and things that they've ever had on that label
Awesome.
independently.
Independently. That's pretty good
Yes,
stuff. I got
she's
on
done some really impressive things.
Awesome, amazing. That is an excellent story. I got on the screen right now some of the awards you've been awarded with, and I see the one that stands out the most to me is the Innovation Award, because I always like innovation of people. Can you tell me about that award when you received it?
Well, I didn't receive the award for the innovation. I was nominated for that one. Is that the Wisconsin Innovation
Yes,
Award?
yes, yes.
Yes, so I was nominated for that one. I am, as far as I know, to my knowledge, the first black tech business owner in my hometown of Beloit, Wisconsin. I created an application called Quick Care and a company called QwikTrips. We also have an application that was simultaneously developed with the students from the University of Wisconsin Parkside called the Help app, which stands for Highway Emergency Locator Platform. So I've created the Quick Care app first, and then after learning of a social injustice that was happening to one of the black-owned towing companies there in Wisconsin, I decided to look for ways to develop the Help app.
Okay, awesome. I love that. Nominations are just, I mean, to be nominated for something is a blessing. To win
Thank you. Yes.
is a bigger blessing because that's people recognizing the work that you're doing, right? That's people recognizing
Right.
the work that you're doing. Let's
So
talk.
I definitely appreciate the recognition,
No, of course. I mean, it's lovely.
especially from my home state.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the beautiful thing.
Yeah,
That's the beautiful thing,
absolutely.
to be recognized in your home state because that's where you started. That's where you came from. Um, let's talk about balancing because someone asked a question. It wasn't in the live chat, but it was an email of someone who said they couldn't be here named Melissa. They said, I'm finding it hard to balance my social media branding and taking care of my family. I'm a single mom of four kids and I just can't find the time, but I understand how important it is. How can I balance that time?
Oh, great question. To whoever sent that email, that is very common. A lot of people find that social media is another job, and it definitely is. But thankfully, we have a lot of different digital tools now that are making it much easier and can make us more productive and save us a lot more time. So I would advise that person to, one, set aside some time, possibly monthly or weekly, where they can create a social media calendar, and then use platforms such as like Chat GPT and Canva and what's the other one that I wanted? Hootsuite. Those three digital tools alone can help her to create the content for her social media, the graphics and the graphic design for her social media, as well as schedule it out. And Canva can also help her to create a calendar.
That is a great question. It was from Melissa. I don't. That's all I got in the email. Those of you
Well,
who
hello, Melissa.
are those of you watching live, feel free to ask questions as well. Um, that's good. You gave us some scheduling ones, and I think a lot of people don't understand that there's apps out there that will schedule it for you. Okay,
Yes,
Barbara.
and there's a lot of different applications that are being developed, especially with the artificial intelligence. So my partner and I actually came across one several weeks ago. We did a demonstration on it. It's called Amy, which I can't remember the second part, but it's artificial intelligence. And
Mhm.
what it does is it helps you create. You can, excuse me, actually enter in information about your brand, upload logos and things of that nature, and it will actually create 1 to 3 months of social media content for you within minutes.
Awesome. Barbara asks, and Barbara, I don't know if we need a little clarification, but I'm not the expert. She says, how do you create a brand that would be independently, oh, I'm sorry, how do you create a brand that would be independently? Where do I start? So, Barbara, I don't know if you mean like, where should I start on social media or how do I, what's my first step? When I'm sitting down saying, you know what, I need to work on my brand and I know nothing about branding, what's my first step, Shante?
To determine what your brand is. Who are you? What is it that you want to be known for? What are you creating? What are you selling? Is it a product? Is it a service? Is it you? Is it your personality? Is it personal branding? Are you branding a product or, creating a company? So those are all things that the first steps to determining exactly, what is it that you are trying to create into a brand.
Mm. You know, one thing I talk about in our branding classes or preps that I've done is don't just jump on products. We got a lot of people on social media. They're always, hey, if you post this shampoo, we'll pay you $400 every time you post it. And that's something that's easy to jump on. I always tell them, well, what is that shampoo? What's the research on that? Because when people's hairs start falling out, now you're going to become the shampoo hair fallout lady, and no other bigger brand's going to want to touch you because you're
You
associated
should
with it.
never market or sell or promote anything on your social media that you have not tried and sampled for yourself.
Y'all heard that advice. It's not just me saying it. Christy, hey,
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
Christy.
looking at the bottom
Oh, no,
too.
no, you're
Yes,
fine.
if you have never, because we live in a world now where people are buying from experience. They're buying from testimonies, from reviews, from ratings. Like even before I go to a restaurant, I pull up online. I'm looking at the ratings. I'm comparing it to others. I'm pulling up the comments, and I'm looking to see what did other customers, what were their
Mhm.
experience, how did they feel their food tasted, how did they feel the service was. So these are all things that I think a lot of people do now. So I think it's very important.
You know, it's so funny that you said that. If you do that enough, you get so proficient. I can tell by reviews where it's a legitimate complaint or if this was just a difficult customer. I can tell based on the customer's
Yeah.
comments. I can go, you know what, you're just difficult. And
Yep.
then I can go and say, okay, that's a problem for that restaurant. So if you do it enough, you become proficient in telling which reviews are legitimate and which ones are like, you're a little
Yep.
difficult. I'm going to go back to Chrissy's question. Chrissy says, is it okay to post at least once a week on social media and then later grow to posting daily.
Absolutely. But when you post that once a week, make sure that, and hello, Christy, brand rising to you, make sure that it's something of value for those who are following you. So you want to provide something that's going to keep them on the edge of waiting. Well, what is she going to give us? Or, yeah, what is she going to give us next week? So that way you kind of keep them engaged. But if you're just randomly posting things that have no value, or have no information or no resources or a call to action, then it's really in vain.
Yes. And again, it all goes back to the first thing she said. What are you trying to brand? Who are you? Are you trying to brand yourself as an actor, a model, an artist, a businesswoman? Because we have different types of people that are going to be watching this video. Are you a comedian? Are you heavily into voiceover work? Are you trying to brand a clothing line? What is the personality of your clothing line? Is it business casual? Is it business? Is it, streetwear? So it's determining who you are, and you got to remember, branding simply means what you want everyone to know you by, and what you stand by, and what you stand for. Am I wrong in that assessment?
No, you're absolutely right. And another thing I just wanted to point out is when you are posting, make sure that, goodness, I was right on the tip of my tongue what I wanted to say as you were speaking.
I talk too
But
much. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I'm sure it'll come back to me.
Mhm. That's me. Sometimes I gotta shut my big mouth and let you talk, right?
No, sometimes our brain gets moving so fast.
Right. That usually happens when I'm having fun.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
tell me, what was the client or project that you did to where you say, you know what? I finally made it to where I want to be. Not that you finally made it and you've reached the pinnacle of success, because we're always trying to get higher, right? But what
Right.
was that? Oh, and Christy says thank you.
Oh
She
no, and I thought about what it was I wanted to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Be intentional when you post.
Mm,
Always have an intention of what call to action, what reaction, or what action you want, what emotion you want to, get from the people that you're posting to, your target audience. So be intentional also when you post.
Ooh, here's a question I get all the time, and I understand this, Barbara. Barbara says, "Do you create a brand from your profile, or do you just randomly just use quotes?" So I always tell people this: if you're going to use quotes, like when I go to someone's Instagram and they've got a picture of like Morgan Freeman with his quote, I said, why don't you post a picture of you, use the quote, and credit the person who made the quote?
Mm-hmm.
Use
Hmm.
yourself. And I always say things like, if you're going to post a picture of you cracking, making an omelet, don't just post a picture of you making an omelet. Put something inspiration in there. It can be cheesy. Something like, to achieve success, sometimes you've got to break some eggs. That's extremely cheesy. But at
Right.
least
No,
you're
it's
putting
you're right.
yeah, but at least you're putting like something inspirational, kind of motivation, that people can see, instead of just posting your pancakes that you had that morning.
Right, and you don't want to brand the quoter. You want to brand yourself. You want to brand your product, and you want to brand your service. And going back to your other question of when did I feel, I guess I had made it or achieved a certain amount of success or a level of success. I think that was probably about a year and a half ago, maybe possibly not even a year ago. But I've been working with a client, Tanisha, and she was someone that I met. And when I first met her, she was very uncertain about where her business was heading. She was performing very low numbers in sales, and she just was looking for some guidance. And I provided my business development consultations, as well as we provided services helping her to rebrand her company. So we did the redesign of her logo, we did her website, and also I created her business plan and new strategies. And in just under about probably ten months, Tanisha's sales had increased over 785%. And so that was huge for me. And I felt really good about, the impact that I had on her business. And then I knew that my formula was definitely game changing for any business owner that I work with.
Amazing. That was the one that says, you know what, I'm on the right path. right?
Exactly.
Right.
This is the formula. It works well. Because you have clients who come and they'll ask you the things to do, and you'll work with them, and some will listen, many won't.
Yeah.
They won't take the action. They'll, even if they pay you to tell them what to do, they will do the opposite, or do things. And then when they don't get the results that they want, then
Ah,
it's like, oh well, possibly that's why you didn't get the results, because you didn't do what I've kind of laid out for you, and thankfully Talisha, and I tell her this all the time, she is one of my star clients. Whatever I tell or talk to Tanisha about and consult with her, Tanisha instantly puts it into action, and she sees the results instantly as well. And so she's referred me to other clients. I've started working with them, and I'm seeing their growth and their sales and their business. And Tanisha's opened up like her third business. Another client she referred me to, they've opened up their second business, and now they're consulting as well. So it's just really good to see the growth in these ladies, and now we're all like supporting each other and uplifting each other.
I got excited because you said something in there. It's amazing that no matter if you're paying someone or not, if you follow the instructions of what they're telling you to do, it's amazing how much your percentages of success go up. I always love when I go to a subject matter expert on something, I don't tell them what they should tell me. And some people pay you, then they want to hear what they think. They want you to tell them what they think to like confirm that they were right. And then when you tell them something different, they're like,
Exactly.
but all we can do is provide the information. And Barbara, I knew exactly where you were going. I saw the correction in that quotes from someone else, but I knew what you were saying, and that's the same advice of if use it yourself to do that. Something we just talked about it, and I was going to hit on it was that ability to follow instructions. I always tell my talent and students that the number one killer in any industry is the inability to follow instructions. It's not how awesome you are, it's the
Absolutely.
inability to follow um, instructions. So that's a big one, and I'm glad that you said that as well. Uh, and the person that you were talking about being your number one client or your number one, that's your number one success story. But
That's my
that's the
star
one,
client. Yeah, that's my number one success story.
and she has followed your procedures to a T.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And she comes back and she asks questions, and she's used me for now her multiple businesses.
Mhm. Ooh, this is a good question in the email. Sorry, I get to the email ones slower, guys, because it's harder to check the email when you're doing a live. So if you can come on live and watch and live comment, it'll be faster. But they said, how difficult, and this is an open-ended question because it depends on what you did.
Hmm.
How difficult is it to rebrand if you've done something that has compromised your brand? Ooh, it
Hmm.
really depends on what you did.
It really does depend on what you did, because I've worked with celebrity artists
Mhm,
and in the music industry.
mhm,
And because of, certain stories or things associated with them, we've had to kind of come in like Olivia on a show on that when she cleans up everything. I can't think of the show's name right now. Olivia Pope, I think it is. But we come in like
mhm,
Olivia Pope, our press team, our publicity, and we like press, we put them involved, we get them involved in a lot of philanthropy and charitable acts,
mhm.
um, different things like that. So, how difficult, really, like you said, it depends on what you've done, and yeah, and the team that you have in place,
That's a difficult job because the hardest, now you tell me if I'm wrong. I believe the hardest part of that job is writing an apology for someone because I listen to a lot of apologies from PR people and it's saying a lot of stuff and you're just looking like this is not a real apology. That's a hard thing to do, to write an apology for someone and make them sound authentic and that they mean it. That seems really hard to me because we do watch a lot of people do press releases and do their PR apology, and it just sounds either robotic or non-sincere. So I'm like, how does that work? That part.
Well, you gotta have great writers. You gotta have a great publicist. You
Mhm.
know, if you have someone who's not as experienced, or if they're not a great writer, or if they're just a person who maybe doesn't have a lot of compassion or empathy. They most likely can't become a great writer to really put themselves in that person's shoes to write a great apology. When you're being a writer, or if you're a writer, you have to be able to put yourself in that character.
You could also have the effect of, hey, I mean, in the acting industry, you could write the greatest script in the world. You get terrible actors, it may not be good. So you might
You're
write
right.
the greatest apology ever, but if that person that's
I would
reading it
agree.
doesn't really believe in the apology, or doesn't on their side doesn't have is truly not empathetic, then that apology may not come out as correct. So I guess I see both
Right.
sides now. I'm glad you
The two-way
explained that
street.
to me. Yeah, it is a definitely two-way street. Do you have that conversation? Like, what's the type of conversation you have with that person when writing the apology, or do you just write it?
Well, I will tell you, it has been probably over a decade
Mhm.
since I have had to write an apology letter or apology. I don't think I've ever had to do an apology press. I've assisted in a kind of like a apology campaign,
Mhm.
but I myself personally haven't had to write a press release. I have done emails, and I've been in meetings where I've had to smooth things over.
Mm. That's a good thing, though. I guess that's a good thing. You haven't had the right one in a decade. That means your clients stay out of trouble.
Well, yeah, yeah. Because for one, I don't do a lot of music representation anymore. More of the business that I do now is in business formation, branding, um, digital marketing and solutions and automation, global expansion, and then crowdfunding. So I'm a crowdfunding consultant. I teach on the power of crowdfunding in order to help bridge the racial wealth gap, specifically for women and minority businesses. And so I just kind of am not as involved in the entertainment industry as I was when I was a lot younger. However, the roots that I established in the music industry has actually allowed me, one, to become a stakeholder in a new global music distribution brand called Maverick Global Distribution. Also, I am a stakeholder in a platform called Click TV, which is a platform for content creators to distribute their films and television shows. Primarily, we're in Nigeria. We're on a beta launch right now. So I'm still very involved, but more on the executive level of creating platforms to empower and enrich the creators and the contributors.
Amazing. Sorry, when I turn my head, I'm not ignoring you. I'm always checking the chat and
Oh, you're good.
writing to people. I know some people look like, why is he always turning away from it? Don't worry about it.
None of your business.
Nothing to see here. Move along. Um, this is the part where I like to give, 1 to 2 minutes, however much you take, for the guest to kind of give motivational tips for people who are trying to get into the entertainment industry, or in your case, whether it's entertainment industry or trying to brand their business. We're trying to give it some motivational tips because a lot of people have hardships and hard times with these. And the biggest thing that we get on these industry talks is trying to help people push through, especially people who are trying to do this and they've already got family, full time job. And it's hard to balance those things. So I'd like to give you this opportunity to kind of give them some tips and some motivation. All right, here we go.
Right. Well, first of all, I just like to say, that if it was easy, then everyone would be doing it. That's what my mentor always reminds me. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So one thing I would like to remind you is that, it takes a special kind of person to be able to continue to give your all and to pursue your passions and dreams when you're going through trials and tribulations, when you're having a hard time financially, when you have to work another job and you don't have as much time to put into your own business while you're building other people's business. So I would say, as far as tips, I would say always schedule at least, schedule some time to invest in yourself, in your own brand, in your own business. And then I would also say to take advantage of the resources, the tips, and the tools, especially the digital tools that are out there that are going to increase your productivity, that are going to make you more efficient, and that will also save you time, so that you can balance things a little more. And then also, I would say, give yourself that self care that you need. A lot of times, we don't take out time to give ourselves self care. And the most important thing in your health is your mental health. So if you're not together mentally, then it's going to come out in other ways. So always take care of your mental health, provide some self-care, balance your time, remember to invest in yourself. And then when it comes to the branding part of things, I think it's very important to align ourselves with important causes, because these things can help to build your brand. They can accelerate your sales, they can accelerate you to get more castings, because you can make yourself stand out more among other entertainers from the work and things that you're doing, possibly in the community, the causes that you support. So those are just different things that you can do that will support your personal brand. And I would just say, as far as motivation, just stay at it, because we always hear about the winners. You never hear about the losers or those who gave up.
Awesome. Thank you, Your Excellency. I love saying. I can't. I'm never gonna get used to saying. I love it. I can't wait. I'm gonna wait till that's before. No, that can't be before my name. I'll be highly irresponsible. I know myself. If that was my name, you give me a royal title. Everyone who knows me knows it's over. It's over. You're not gonna be able to tell me anything after
Well,
you give me.
I make sure and I try my hardest not to let it go to my head. One of my favorite verses, I don't know exactly all the words to that verse, but one of the favorite things I like about Drake when he says, I love when money makes you different but doesn't make you different.
Oh, well, see, I don't subscribe to that because once you put that title on me, I'm telling you, I have a friend that's a jeweler. I'm getting a crown made. You're gonna see me having a robe. You're gonna see
What you
everything. I'm
say?
gonna wear
What
it.
you say? King Kiani in the house,
Right. I'm gonna
in
have a
the royal house.
scepter and everything. I enjoyed this. I love all the guests that we get. So delightful to talk to you. Heartwarming.
Thank you.
You had
Same
so
here.
many tips and great things that I want everyone who's watching to take advantage. I see some people popping in. You're probably gonna get to this part because you're probably not rewind, telling my age. You probably started it earlier in the video, so when you get to this part, you'll hear me say thank you guys for logging in that are logging in now. And we hope to see you again. This was great and
Thank
more
you. I love
information
to come
can happen.
back.
How can people follow you?
Well, I have done a job of personal branding myself online on all platforms, unfortunately. And that's another tip. Find the platform, because this started when I was first getting into social media. So I have all these different platforms. But find the platform where your target audience is, and then focus your efforts on that platform. I would never say try to do all the platforms like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. Trying to do all of them will become exhausting, and so you'll get to that point of where it will become challenging. So find the platform that works for you, where you have the most engagement with your target audience, and really focus your efforts on building the most engagement in your audience there. But you can find me on LinkedIn, is one of my most famous favorite platforms. I love LinkedIn. I think it's great, especially for professionals, those who are looking to do business with one another. Facebook is good for family and friends. Instagram is really good for entertainment and media and more of the younger people. TikTok is great, especially for consumers. And so, yeah, take advantage of these platforms. You can find me on them at Shanta Lana. And you can also find me at thepowerofcrowdfunding.com and shantaylene.com.
That was a really nice way of saying if your audience is old, go on Facebook. If they're young, go on TikTok. That was a better way of saying it than I would have said it. No, I'm just kidding. Luckily, everyone who watches
Know
the
where your audience is.
luckily everyone who watches this, Shantae knows I'm a fool, so it's okay. Well, thank you guys for watching Industry Talk. We're gonna see
Thank you for
you.
having me. Brand Rising, everyone. I love to talk with you.
Awesome.
and
Thank you.
help you with your careers.
Oh, yes, definitely follow her and ask questions. And she will be back. And also, we have coming up some excellent, excellent guests. Barbara Nixon says, thank you for your insight. Christy
You are welcome. You are all welcome. Thank you.
Christy says, thank you. This was a great live. We appreciate you. Christy, our goal is to bring you people in the entertainment industry, actors, producers, casting directors, costume designers, but we also want to bring you people outside of the industry that can help you in all facets of your life. Join us next time on the next Industry Talk. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Sunday.
Peace and blessings. You're welcome, Annie.